Welcome to the first Trendsetters Table podcast. We're super excited to have you listen to us and watch us. And yeah, the point of this is really just to kind of create some information for people about culture, what's happening in the world, targeted to Gen Z and millennials. And hope you find this interesting. Give us some slack. This is our first one, so a lot of technical problems to set this up, but we're super excited that you're listening. Why don't we talk about ourselves, share a bit with people? Jay!
Absolutely. So my name's Jay. Been working with Dotted for the last 2 years or so.
Yeah.
Previously, spent my entire time in sales and education. Gravitated over to Web3 around 2017, 2018, and haven't looked back. So excited to be here and get to learn more about the space and share what I think.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll go. My name is Birch. That's the name I go by in the Web3 scene and sometimes outside of my personal life. Not much about myself except that I'm like a full degen that's basically does a lot of trading related stuff and just do a bunch of stuff that's quite risky, I would say.
No risk, no rewards, right? Cool. I'm Tamer. I've been in that space for a few years now. Background is TradFi. But yeah, I really love like innovation, new tech, and I'm super excited for us to share our experiences and thoughts, and hope you find it interesting. Cool. It is the month of December. Do you know what that means?
I guess it means Mariah Carey music.
Oh, it does. I could not have planned that better. So, the name of this episode is All I Want for Christmas is
Web3.
Nice. Okay, cool. So, for anyone that doesn't know, which I don't think is anyone, right? The start of Christmas, or if you're American, right after Thanksgiving, now increasingly after Halloween, you will hear an endless loop of Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You. So, the song was originally released in 1997, and we were kind of just curious what would happen if Mariah released that song today. And before I get into that, what is everyone's favorite Christmas song? Chen Ho.
I actually don't quite like Christmas songs.
Oh no! You must have one. No?
Okay, so I used to listen quite frequently to Pentatonics, that a cappella group.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they release like regular Christmas albums, but I don't listen to it because I like the Christmas songs.
Okay.
It's because I like, that a cappella group.
Okay.
But yeah, like Christmas songs to me are sort of like, you hear it everywhere, but at the same time, it's sort of like, ugh.
No? Wow. Okay. No. You didn't like Lonely Christmas, Ethan Chen? No? Damn.
No,
Dude, okay.
just grumpy.
Okay. Jay, all of that.
Man, I guess, Christmas is a pretty big thing back home, right?
Yeah.
So
Where is back home?
Canada. So what
Sound more proud when you
saying,
say
like North America, very, very big thing. Christmas song, I guess anything with anything with S Club or like Westlife.
S Club 7?
Yeah, S Club 7.
Okay.
Yeah, anything with them.
Nice.
They're just remakes, right? But,
that's good.
Yeah, it's my go-to music.
Yeah. Mine is All I Want. No, that's not All I Want. It could be. That is in my top 3. But my favorite is I'll Be Home for Christmas.
You'll be home for Christmas.
Yeah, because I remember one year I was studying abroad, and it was Christmas Day, and like I was in like a coffee shop by myself. Like everyone I knew left. I was standing in like in a foreign country. I was just listening to it. I was like, I want to be home for Christmas.
What country were you in?
I was in China at the time.
Oh.
Yeah, I was studying abroad my junior year.
Nice.
Yeah, and we're gonna go more into this, but
Right.
share with people more about ourselves first before we talk about the good stuff.
Okay.
What is your Spotify top 5?
I gotta leave this one to Birch first. I don't really have Spotify.
You have Spotify. Fair enough.
Yeah.
No, it's overrated. Overrated. Yeah.
To answer this one.
So the Spotify Wrapped
Yeah.
thing. Like just happened over the past few days, and then everyone's sharing it crazy on Instagram,
Yeah.
on social media, and everything. So I think it's interesting that Taylor Swift got into my top 5 this year.
Ooh. Which song?
It's not like the most played artist.
Okay.
But yeah, I think there are 2 songs that are probably in the top 10, even though it's not listed. But yeah, it's ever since this year that Taylor Swift, got so much up higher in the ranks for my top 5.
Yeah.
But I've been somewhat of like a fan. I wouldn't say like a huge fan, but definitely a fan for years since I was like really young. But yeah, it's only until this year that I saw it in the top 5 Spotify thing.
Is it related to the NFL stuff, or you're just feeling Taylor this year?
I mean, it's because of all the concerts, and then there are like a few like really banger songs that dropped. I think last year or earlier this year.
I guess for my top is a very interesting mix of like canto pop. So East and Chen is my number 1.
Wow.
Yeah.
You canto pop.
Me.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm jamming to it. And then it's like Drake and Jack Harlow. And then one of my friends, shout out to Derek Dali. He's in my top 5 as well. So it's quite a mix.
He's also in Hong Kong, right?
He is also in Hong Kong.
Right,
So
nice.
Hong Kong, guys. Okay. Well, enough about us and this musical interest. Like, which is the main question for today is how does an artist like Mariah Carey make money from her songs? And do you wanna talk about it?
Well, let's take a step back.
Yeah.
What I can talk about is how she originally made money.
Yeah.
So she launched in like the 90s.
1997.
1997. That's right.
I wasn't born yet.
So kind of obsolete for you, but there was these things called cassettes and CDs, right? And that's
no one had cassettes in the 90s. Get out of here.
I had cassettes in the 90s. I couldn't afford the CD player Walkman, right? So I had the cassette, like
Fair enough.
some
Fair
poor kids were still rocking the cassettes in the 90s,
Yeah.
but that was literally the moneymaker. And then I guess a portion of revenue came from working with radio stations.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it still goes on today in
Yeah.
practice, right? Like royalties that are paid for by the radio station, and that's perpetual, right? But I would think it's a very labor-intensive process. There's a lot of manual work behind it. Nothing's automated. Royalties have to be calculated and then shift off. So that could maybe feed into your original question, which was, what would that look like today? Right?
Yeah.
With smart contracts and all that.
Yeah.
Or like just Spotify.
Yeah.
Or Spotify streaming. Let's start with
Spotify
that.
streaming.
That's it's a big moneymaker these days.
So let's go into the numbers. If you want to let's go into the numbers. Okay, so All I Want for Christmas Is You was originally released in 1997, and the main distribution methods, as you said, was through physical sales and radio plays and like things like MTV. MTV used to be a thing where you would stream music.
I know MTV.
Okay. I'm not settled. So reportedly, she made, this is from one statistic, she made $80 million from that song to date. From the release of things like radio plays, from album sales, from band collaborations. So she made quite a lot of money. The bulk of that money was originally made through sales of like music and album sales and people licensing for every movie.
Yep.
Increasingly, it's more the brand stuff, actually, which puts all into Web3 stuff that we can cover in a bit. And roughly, she earns about $3 million a year from that song, right? If we go into basically how it worked in the 90s, so when people sold physical albums or, if you bought an album from iTunes or something like that, typically the artist will get between 10 to 25% of the price. So back in the day, when I went to Tower Records, you would buy, I think one of the last albums I bought was Maroon 5. I bought the album for like $20.
Yep.
$15, the artist in that case would get $20, would get $2. Or they would get, $5, depending on how, $2 or $3 depending on the artist. For radio plays, album sales, it's all kind of up in the air. It really depends how big the artist is and everything else.
So
Yeah.
who gets the other $15? So the record label,
The record label,
the brick and mortar store, I guess. You mentioned
brick and
Power
mortar
Records,
stores, yeah.
HMV, things like that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so the artist doesn't really get a lot, right?
They do not get that much. I mean, historically, it's kind of an interesting business model. Historically, like in DC, right? They seed a lot of musicians, and then chances are most of them won't actually make it. So they make up most of their money from specific artists that go platinum, double platinum, and everything like that.
But like, are musicians or artists these days like making less, or are they making more with like streaming services?
I'm so glad you asked that. Basically, you are completely correct. The majority of the money today is made from streaming royalties, and depending on the platform, it changes quite a bit. So some estimates found online is on Spotify, an artist gets about 0.00318 per stream. So if you listen to it 1 million times, the artist will get about $3,000. A million listens to it, right? If you're on Apple Music, Apple Music plays between like 0.006 and 0.008 cents per stream. Everything is in US dollars. So you can make between 6,000 to 8,000. And then YouTube, they pay kind of in between. So they pay 0.005 cents per stream or 0.07. So again, 1 million streams to make about $5,000.
So which one do you make the most off? It seems YouTube, right?
Technically Apple Music, but the pushback on that is, I think especially outside of maybe North America, I don't know many people that use Apple. Do you use Apple? Spotify.
That's true.
Spotify.
That's true.
Oh, you don't use Spotify, do you?
I don't.
What do you use to listen to
I
music?
use YouTube. I'm old school.
Okay. Well, you're paying them more than me and Sean Ho, so it's okay.
Yeah,
I start reimbursed.
Support creators.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Just got doxed in the burst. It's on the podcast.
It's the second time in the
In the collector's space.
But it's fine.
Yeah, it's okay.
Same for a third. In case you guys didn't catch his name.
Yeah. So okay, a couple other things, right? Another way that they do is digital sales. So like iTunes, Amazon Music, they still like do records and CDs. And you actually have mentioned you purchased a CD recently.
I purchased like a physical CD in Japan. A few months, like 3-4 months ago.
Can I ask, do you actually have a CD player? How do you play the music?
I can plug it into my computer.
But most computers, you need the like extension there.
Like my desktop.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I have that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you actually got a CD drive with your desktop.
But I think it might be my first like music album CD that I purchased.
Okay.
It actually might be.
I think it's probably your last.
No, because I grew up with streaming services with like iPods.
Yeah.
So back then, maybe iTunes might have bought something online, but like physical CDs, I think it's actually my first time.
Okay. Oh, it makes sense. It wasn't a very good way to listen to music. I remember like I'd have like a Walkman CD player, and then sometimes if you ran too much, it would like skip.
Oh, right, yeah. Like that, yeah.
Never experienced it.
Okay.
Like the earliest memory I got with like music related stuff, it's already like an iPod, and then an iPod Touch, and then like smartphones.
Okay, fair.
So
you skipped the whole physical generation.
You skipped it. Yeah. Do you remember the last album you bought was?
Last album I bought probably D12. So Eminem's band. With his crew, Bizarre. All them folks.
Okay.
I think that was the last one I bought.
Yeah.
HMV, and still remember it.
Okay.
That was a while ago.
Yeah. I think mine was either. I remember there was just Tower Records.
Yeah.
There was one Tower Records in this mall in Hawaii that I would always just go to. I would never buy it, I just walk in and just like kill time. It was either Maroon 5 or it was Hot Fuzz. Hot Fuzz? No, that's actually a movie. It's a Killer's last. It was the Killer's first album.
Okay, right. I remember those guys.
Okay, going back to the real serious stuff, right?
Yes.
Okay, digital sales, physical sales, performance rights royalties. So when it's played publicly on the radio, whoever listens to the radio these days,
Right.
or on television, they get some royalties from that. Song licensing fees, so for like movies, TV, just commercials. And finally, now they have something called 360 deals, where the label gets a percentage of the various artists' revenues, like touring, merchandise, endorsements, and more, and not just music sales.
Okay.
So I think just taking a step back, right? Like I think from the beginning, like, you know, in the 90s, it seemed like, yes, the music label took a lot more stuff, but there was more ways to kind of make money. Whereas like now, if you're starting artists, like, let me put it this way, if you were starting as a musician now,
Yeah.
like, do you think the current system is fair? What would you do? Like, what is your thought process after kind of hearing what it's like now?
I mean, I think isn't it somewhat easier for someone to be like an individual singer, songwriter, creator these days with the internet, basically.
That is true.
Yeah, because like you could start off as like a cover singer on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you blow up, then you could release your own music
Yeah.
on Spotify and then get millions of
That is true.
streams, and then you could become a singer without even like, you know, like skipping all the label and
Yeah.
stuff.
That actually is a good point, because like it was so gatekept before. Like there's a lot of artists like that have just kind of pulled up through the internet.
No, like to add to that, maybe
Yeah.
even before the internet, it would be like those reality TV shows, right? Like
Shows.
Yeah,
what was that called again?
American Idol.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Couldn't remember the
X-Factor.
name. X Factor, American Idol, right?
Yeah.
So like it's only the top contestant that wins, but I'd say like top 10 would probably get offered music
Yeah.
deals or at least some coaching to develop that.
Yeah.
So yeah, like different mediums. It's not as gatekept, like
Yeah.
you said before, right? Where only a select few individuals could perform and monetize. But yeah, how about now? Like, what are some ways?
Oh, this is the this is the podcast.
Yeah.
So things about like Web3. So like, how do certain new technologies come around and change things, right? So I think you made a perfect example before, right? Things like, you know, the internet, YouTube, like even stuff like American Idol, I would say is quite revolutionary, right? Instead of a company or a person executive deciding who's good, you know, American Idol could be like seen as like the Web 1 version, right? They
Yeah.
had a show and people kind of input, and they gave like the television or the music executive information and be like, oh, this guy is good, this guy. And I know that when, for example, I know when I make Kelly Clarkson's first album, because she got so many views, there's some kind of, it's a safer bet. Right? So
Yeah.
it's like, I find some guy in a bar, I think his music's good, I'm going to sell it, right? And we could argue, right, the Web 2 version was things like streaming services, right? You just kind of consume stuff,
Yeah.
you sort of engage with the artist, and it's like anyone can kind of produce, right? Like anyone can become a fashion blogger, right, post on Facebook, make videos, and then you were able to kind of engage and have a deeper relationship that's a little bit less intermediated between like a company. It's sort of still intermediated now by, you know, the platform that you're operating on.
Yeah.
But Web3 is kind of this new realm that artists are sort of looking at.
So how I usually see it, it's so I've been in the space mainly as a trader for a while. So I've seen a lot of projects that happen using whatever, like blockchain, NFT, Web3, like all those buzzwords, technologies, right? But it's interesting where in the music scene, so there are a few types of plays that happen throughout the past few years. One is like individual artists, or singer, whatever, they launch their own like NFT and sell it directly as like a media file, as a song. But then for the end user, technically they could, you know, support that creator by just streaming the same song on social media or streaming it on Spotify, music players, right?
Yep.
But why would someone actually buy into that NFT directly? It's mainly to show support, because all, if not all of, you know, the money, the profit from the sales goes directly back to the artist.
Yeah.
At the same time, people get to own that content as well.
Yeah.
So you just feel like, you know, you're collecting a piece, collecting something that you like, and then you actually get to own it. Just like why I bought an album in Japan.
Yeah.
It's because I want to support this Japanese artist that I recently, like earlier this year, discovered and I like a lot. So I just bought an album because I want to keep it as a record for myself.
Yeah.
But buying a physical album could be like, oh, you know, one day I might, you know, touch wood, if accidents happen at home, or if I moved, I might lose it. But if I buy it on the blockchain or using stuff like NFT, then technically I could own it for as long as the internet is around.
Yeah. What is your kind of why do you think someone would be interested from a fan perspective, and then maybe why would someone be interested from like an artist perspective, or just what excites you generally?
Yeah, I mean, from an artist perspective, I think that riding on Birch's point, it gives the artists a lot more flexibility to skip certain parties that previously, I think you mentioned before, that the artist would only see $2 to $5 of each sale, right? So it cuts out a lot of the middlemen with how certain smart contracts are written.
Yeah.
You can have perpetual loyalty.
Yeah.
So the example I like to give is looking at Banksy versus Beeple. They're both very famous artists. Essentially, Banksy was not able to capitalize on secondary sales because when his physical piece is sold the second time, Banksy doesn't see $1 of that. Whereas with people, with smart contracts, with secondary revenue, he's always constantly seeing revenues from that, right? So, I mean, it's a more sustainable model, which rewards the creator and the artist, right? And then talking about the fan side, what you could potentially do is have greater rapport, greater interaction between the artist and the fan. There's tools out there, and I believe like Dotted has this messaging, wallet to wallet. So it also allows for the artist to reward his users directly by airdropping. Right? So if we look at Birch's example, the artist actually doesn't know if Birch has physically bought one of his physical pieces, nor can this artist reward Birch with anything further. But with digital assets, the artist now has Birch's wallet. You can then airdrop, interact. You can have all types of fun stuff. I'm not going to get too much into it, but essentially the artist can create a whole universe from this, and it allows the first step, which is connecting the artist with his fans. Right? And then the artist can easily, well, not easily, but relatively based on activity, identify who his super fans are. And then with that creates the perfect ecosystem. So it's more data, I guess to a certain degree, more privacy, more revenue for the artist. So I'm all for it, right? It shakes up the industry. I think record labels might be worried a little bit because like the banks, crypto is shaking everything up. So I mean, if you've had a monopoly, a chokehold on this for, I guess, ever, right? You could say, it's scary to see what this technology can bring.
Speaking of record labels, I just realized actually I bought like 2 music NFTs I think last year or like in 2021. So it's basically like a Taiwanese person. He has a thing for like pop music, and then he created his own label, like virtual online label, and then released a song and then sold those songs as NFTs. And then I listened to the song and was like, wow, it's cool. It's actually my most played in Spotify in 2022. That song was my most played in 2022. Even though I'm already playing out on Spotify, but at the same time I still bought that NFT because it sort of supports and helps fundraise his music label. And then after that, I think he came up with another song, and then there's like a third song in the making. But yeah, I just thought it's really cool that, and also I'm in a position where I could help this artist. Amazing singer, songwriter, like creating a bunch of really good songs. And so I'm now like partially funding that music label that he created. And hopefully his music could be,
Dude, that's amazing, man.
Yes.
All enabled by this new technology.
Enabled by this new technology. So there's actually a couple of things you guys have mentioned that I think is quite interesting. Like, it's one is like from starting up as a new musician, and like it provides another way to kind of get started and grow your fan base as a pure musician, right? To raise money, to do other things, right? I mean, as much as we want to say you can get discovered on, Spotify or YouTube, right? Like as we said, like 1 million views is quite a lot, right? But then, taking, especially for YouTube, we'll take out the ad revenue part, like 1 million views, $3,000, it's not really gonna be able to, get you better production, fun for your like hotels to travel around. So it really helps you with starting as an artist to kind of get capital to get going. And it seems like it's something that might be more important for people starting out, like new musicians. Like, do you think that's the case, or do you think, also like more established artists might want to also sell or like kind of create this, or do you think it's more geared towards one or the other?
Nah, I think it's different for both. Like for up and coming or new artists that wants to get into the scene.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a way to help them get discovered, help them make like the initial sales and everything.
Yeah.
But even for established musicians, so an interesting thing that happened throughout 2022 is that there's a music platform called Royals.
Yeah.
It's actually co-founded by Blau, that DJ producer.
Nice.
And then and so Blau himself is like a famous DJ, and even like Justin Bieber got into fractionalizing selling parts of his songs to allow holders of that fractionalized song to own like royalty revenues as well. And then Chainsmokers, Timmy Trumpet, and a few other like musicians that are quite well established already. They are doing really well in the traditional like music streaming, online sort of media type of scene already. But they're also exploring in the Web3 side to allow their fans to own part of their songs and the income revenue that they earn from those songs. And then a bunch of people could be part owners of albums or of songs. And then not only they receive royalties and all the transactions between like selling, reselling of those songs. But at the same time, again, as Jay mentioned earlier, it's about the connection with fans. So when Chainsmokers first launched that album on this Royal platform, so it's the album called So Far So Good. Currently, it has already like 500 or but like millions or something. 500 million total streams from May 2022 until now.
Nice.
And then that album, those fractionalized NFTs were sold basically for completely free to the loyal fans at first. And then fans would be able to receive royalties from 2022 until today. So each holder of that fractionalized piece actually got around like $5 in the last 18 months or so. Even though there's a bunch of holders, but again, originally it's something that's completely free, and it's something new that Chainsmokers and a bunch of musicians are actually experimenting around with.
So I think it's super cool. Like we already see, some musicians really try, like big players in the space, like for example, Chainsmokers, and like smaller guys, the Taiwanese artists that you mentioned before, kind of doing both things. So maybe to take a step back quickly, like for the people that are maybe not as much in the Web3 space, or they don't really know, like they hear a lot of stuff. Like, what are a few like maybe simple things that you can do as a musician in Web3? Like just very very simply, like what are 3 things, or why someone would consider? Like what can it offer?
I mean, I guess top things that come to mind, simplest things would maybe set up a POAP, for example, which is a proof of attendance protocol at your next event. It could be something as simple as a QR code where the user scans it and then they're able to mint one of these artists' limited edition pieces. Right? Let's keep it simple. And then for the artist, then they're able to start tracking this wallet. Then they can start airdropping things. People love limited edition things that come with utility. Anything that's speculative. So essentially, that would be low hanging fruit. Then they could launch their first, music video or song as an NFT, and then as Birch was pointing out, fractionalize it. But that can come a lot later, right? So essentially a POAP or putting your song, deploying your song as an NFT would probably be low hanging fruit. I believe there's platforms out there that probably allow you to turn MP3 into an NFT easily. And then, I mean, if the artist wants to then add a little bit of visuals to it, because NFTs are very they're very visual pieces, right? To really capture the attention, they can easily do so. Right? So, Birch, I don't know if you wanted to add to that. Anything else that's low hanging? There's a lot, for sure, right?
I mean, for me, like I would see it from my own perspective, right? As somewhat of a collector and also someone that supports the music industry.
That's true.
Which I've already done, and I would keep on doing. I would like to buy these like NFTs or albums even from whatever artists, either they're new or they're
Yeah.
established, mainly for a few reasons. First, it's if I like their music, then I want to support it. But instead of buying a physical album, I just buy a digital version of it. And then the second thing would be as an investment as well. If there's like a new artist that I feel like, I'm sure he or she is gonna be, like
Yeah.
a global huge thing in 12, 18 months.
Yeah.
Then I would invest into maybe the earlier albums so that when that albums get played more and more in the future, then I would also get part of that royalty as well.
Yeah.
So as if I'm, as an investor into that musician's future
Yeah.
and somewhat a little bit similar to what currently music labels are doing anyways.
Yeah.
So they source artists like singers and then make them huge and then they profit from it.
Yeah.
So as a fan, does that make you feel closer to the artist because you sort of have a stake, but like skin in the game? With
Yeah,
them as well,
I mean,
right?
definitely. Just like owning part of a sports team. Like,
That's it.
if you own a few
Yeah.
percent of a sports team, you would, like feel more for that team.
Yeah.
You would support and cheer on that team even
Yeah.
more compared to if you don't own anything.
Yeah.
You're just a viewer.
Yeah.
So I guess like owning parts of it makes the whole experience more exciting at least.
Yeah.
And also, I feel like it would make the artists also want to get to know me more
Yeah.
compared to if I'm like a comment on a
Yeah.
YouTube video and be like, I don't know this guy at all.
Yeah.
But now if that artist that I'm supporting is like, oh my god, it's so cool, you're actually supporting my music,
Yeah.
like, and everything like that. It would make both of us feel better, I feel like.
Yeah. So if I was to summarize everything you guys said in a few points, it would basically be one, it creates a new way to engage with fans from a relationship level being, I now see who my super fan is and they know me. Two, from like a funding perspective, like I can raise or I can get engaged, I can sell directly to the fan. I can use that to kind of help grow the business. And then as a fan, you're supporting your artist very directly versus, as we talked about before, money being lost, in the traditional system. Three is also kind of creating win-win scenarios, right? So as you mentioned with the Taiwanese artists, it's like, I see that they're going to be really successful. I'm going to buy a little piece of their future success. And by doing that, one, the artist gets revenue from that, but then they also have this fan that has the incentive to then blow them up, right? Which I think is great, right? Like, I remember I heard this story a while back. It's like BTS, right? Like, how did they become really big in the US? They have these like super fans that would go on all the portals and they'd be like, oh, BTS is the best and stuff like that. At Hong Kong, we have the same thing, right? We have like, we have a local band. I don't know if they're still as big as they were.
The mirror guy.
Yeah, the Mirror guy.
They're awesome.
I still love it, but like they have these
They
super
are.
fans that are super engaged with them. They'll buy them billboards and stuff. But like as an artist or even in like production company, they might not know, to your point, like who this person is, right? And this is a better way, not only from like a like a selfish way to like get revenue, but it's also like as a way to thank this person because they're so inclined for your future success. You're like, oh, I really want to show my appreciation to them, and maybe spend some more time thanking them, right? Like giving them more perks, like sign merchandise, video things. It's a way for you to directly realize who your key audience is.
That's it.
Yeah.
Even like concert tickets,
Yeah.
backstage,
Yeah.
access. anything,
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So it sounds like, this, beyond just like kind of the speculation stuff, it's really just a new way using technology to just kind of engage with people in a better way. And that kind of leads me, you mentioned a lot of things, and I'll talk about Kings of Leon because, first, we talked about this, you don't know Kings of Leon.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. Sex on Fire. Yeah. It's good album. But no, like they actually also did an NFT album, and we were the first people in the industry to do that. And for them, they created exactly this package deal where they did stuff with limited edition vinyl. I can't even say the word. Vinyl. And these people would get front seat tickets and everything else. And it was a way to kind of have better fan engagement and loyalty. And what they originally planned for it was to be like a ticket. So I think for a lot of us, if you want to use Taylor Swift, for example, right? The reality for a lot of these artists is like they sell these tickets, it's bought up by scalpers, and then sold on the secondary market for maybe 5x, 3x, 2 times the price, whatever. Like, and they're not seeing any of that upside. The fan is angry because they're not, they're paying so much money, and it kind of changes that dynamic of it, right? Whereas like something like an NFT enables you to have a digital relationship with that person to say, okay, this person has the first right to buy, and I'll know who the end person that ends up at my concert is, right?
Yep.
And you can engage with them in the future, which is super interesting. And they raised about $2 million from their NFT sales. They used OpenSea. OpenSea is a great platform, but we've worked with some companies that have had some issues because it's not a very non-native solution.
Yeah.
But a lot of the fundamental technology is there, but it's a way to kind of help out as well. Who would you? It's like a weird question. Who would you want to? If someone was to launch an NFT collection, who would you want it to be? Taylor Swift. Sort of fraction. Like you said shake it off at one point. I wanted to make a Taylor Swift reference.
Oh yeah.
Taylor Swift. Okay. Is there a song or just like you just want to fractionalize the owner?
I mean, first of all, it would be cool.
Yeah.
And then second of all, I think it's if that utility that comes with whatever this NFT might be.
Yeah.
Means that I have like easier access to buy tickets. Then I'd be like, hell yeah, I'm down.
That's good.
I would want to go to a concert.
Yeah.
Sometime in the future.
Yeah.
Older exclusive. I mean, that's definitely something.
Yeah. Well, and I think to your point earlier, like Taylor's tickets are being sold for astronomical prices, but she's not seeing any of the upside. And if it was an NFT ticket, she would benefit it, and then she knows, okay, these are the fans that Of course, any amount of fan is good, right? Like not everyone can pay an extraordinant amount of money, but then you also kind of know, okay, this person paid this much. I really should appreciate it.
That's it. And then also track how many times that fan is going to a concert.
Another cool idea, or possibilities with all these blockchain stuff is, let's say Taylor Swift, because I started listening when I was like 8 or 9.
You're so young.
so I'm pretty sure like the first Taylor song that got me to
Love Story.
Yes.
Yeah.
So imagine
Taylor fans.
Like
you have never been in a karaoke room and sang a love story?
Imagine if
Don't think so.
imagine if that information.
Sorry, keep going. Yeah.
Imagine if that information
Yeah.
of like, there's like a young person
Yeah.
that, let's say, bought into or even
Yeah.
played this song for the first time,
Yeah.
like 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And then as an artist, you could see the progress of that fan as well.
Yeah.
You could see, so they bought my stuff, I don't know, like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And then 10 years from now, like the progress and how loyal they've been, how engaged they've been.
Yeah.
So, because I literally grew up listening to Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
So that would be cool if something were to happen for like younger kids these days.
Yeah.
That would be so cool.
Jay, who would you be? Who
would I want to see next? I would probably want to see someone from Asia.
Okay.
Off the top of my head, probably MC Jin. For him
to
make a comeback. I know that he was ahead of his time.
Yeah.
So like this technology here, I think he could really help identify the super fans, especially in the States, right? Because fortunately, he left over to Asia, or maybe it was fortunate for him.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see him drop something. And, see if I can collect it.
Drop the mic.
MC Jin is I guess, Chinese rapper that kills
Chinese American rapper.
Chinese American rapper.
It's okay. He's been
rapper. Absolutely crushed it on BET Freestyle Fridays.
Yeah, he did. Shout out to BET.
Went up against a lot of top acts. Signed to Rough Riders. I guess that was Wyclef's record label.
Is it?
I think so.
I don't know.
And then had his hit songs were Learn Chinese.
Oh yeah!
Senorita, which is kind of brings me back to my Mexican heritage, right?
Nice.
So that was those were his 2 songs, right? And then now he's in Hong Kong, I believe.
No, I think he went to mainland.
Hong Kong and China, right? So he's developing his career out there.
Yeah.
I think he was really ahead of his time. His music was pretty good.
Yeah.
If you watch his Freestyle Fridays, the guy's talented. He's lyrically talented.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there wasn't. I guess it wasn't cool to be a Chinese rapper.
Well, I think like it's like he could have definitely like in like around now like
Yeah.
he would have fit in like an 88 Rising,
That's
like
it.
a Rich Brian, right? Like it doesn't have like I think at that time period because it's still very manufactured. Like rappers from like the early 2000s had a very specific look.
right?
Yeah,
specific
and you
look
couldn't
and
really
feel.
move it.
Selling mixtapes.
Yeah.
And CDs.
Selling
Yeah.
mixtapes and CDs.
Selling mixtapes and CDs.
So to your point, like when the Far East movement really took off.
Oh yeah, dude!
It's,
Like a
it's
cheese.
like
Oh
an
my
Asian mix,
god!
right? Asian wave. But yeah,
Yo,
Jin,
that song.
if you want to produce something,
Yeah.
we're here.
Hit us up. We're in Hong Kong. Taking a dim sum, dude.
What about you?
What about me?
What about you? Who would you
Who would I like to support? One of the artists isn't alive anymore.
Okay.
So you represent Asian American or Asian North Americanness. I'd rep my Hawaiianness, Israel Kamakawi Lole. The guy that sang Over the Rainbow.
Oh, yeah.
The Hawaiian dude with the ukulele.
Yeah.
I mean, like I think one of the things that makes Web3 quite interesting is like it's like a culture thing, right? And then like I think if you're from a certain culture or from a certain area that might be not to get like too into stuff, right? Like it's from that not as overly represented. Like it's a kind of a nice badge, right? You see that he's doing super well. He's licensed and all this music and stuff like that. But as someone that like grew up hearing him and stuff like that, like he's very prolific in Hawaii. Having that, to your point earlier, like the digital piece, like I have actually a lot of his albums. I still have it, right? Like they're sitting in my house, but like I still listen to them on Spotify. So I think that's one guy I would really like. Being in Hong Kong, my number one dude, Eason Chan, I would love to. Dude, buying tickets was like obscene. It was so difficult to get tickets. Closing thoughts. Boo, closing thoughts. What do you want to leave to the audience? Web3, music. No pressure.
Christmas songs are overrated.
Christmas songs are overrated. That's a good last sentence. Jay.
Maybe to like the smaller artists
Yeah.
with the tools out there, it's probably easier than you think to deploy a smart contract. Just to get one foot through the door, check out how this tech could really help you scale as an artist, right? You don't have to go full steam ahead.
Yeah.
You can do a little bit of trial and error. It's not as difficult out there. There's a lot of no-code solutions, so I would say probably give it a try in 2024, right?
I'll say three things. First, shout out to Mariah. Christmas songs are perfectly rated, and she is like the queen of Christmas songs. I can't imagine Christmas without her. Hit me up, Mariah. For NFTs, number two is music wise. I think look like NFTs, Web3 technology. There's a lot of stuff about it. How popular is it really? There was the kind of the boom and the bust, but I think what I would tell people is like it's actually a really interesting and transformative technology. Don't just listen to like the naysayers and stuff. Like actually, look at it, read about it, hit us up. We're very happy to have any conversation. And the third thing is, thank you for listening. Right, this is like our first thing. It was really fun to set up, and we're working hard to make this better for you. If you have any topics or anything you want to do, any feedback, we're just three guys trying our best. So thanks for giving us a chance and listening to us.
That's it.
Cool.
Thank you.
Nice. Don't trust everything you read in ChatGPT. Okay, all I want for Christmas. I'm sorry, Mariah. I'm sorry, Internet collectively. It came out in 1994, not 1997. 1997 has a special place in every Hong Kong person.
One thing didn't change. I also wasn't born here.
Yeah, okay. Okay. I was born both times. I was alive and thriving. Sorry. 1994. You will hear that in the earlier part of the podcast. You can leave us an angry comment. 1994. That's actually the engagement tool that we made up. So yeah. But no, sorry, don't trust ChatGPT. Thanks.